Of course, of course.
All right. Sarah, are you ready for us to go?
Yes, we are good to
Okay.
go.
Well,
I,
we'll only take 20 minutes or so here with you, and we have a lot to show you in that time. But I want to let you know what eSpeakers is about. Sarah gave us an introduction. I want to just expand on that for 60 seconds here. Let you know how our company started, because that's important to our story. We were started almost 20 years ago, 1999. Boy, it's going to be 20 years this year, isn't it, Joe?
It is.
20 years ago by a Hall of Fame speaker named Art Berg, who was doing 200 plus engagements a year, and he knew how to run a speaking business for growth and sustainability. And so today what our company is about is we know that when an audience hears the right speaker deliver a message powerfully, and this goes for coaching and training as well, that there's a kind of magic that can happen, and individuals and organizations can get better. And so at eSpeakers, the way we do our little bit of good in the world is by helping you do more of yours. We're here to support you and to help that magic happen more often. And that's what we're about as a company. And I hope if we wind up doing, interacting together, I hope you'll feel that from our staff as well, that's what we want to do, is support you and help that magic happen more. So Joe and I have been around for a while and seen a lot of speakers come up and be very successful. Joe, we were talking earlier about one. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, we we often will see a new speaker enter the market, or somebody transitioning from another job, or like yourselves being a consultant or coaches or whatever, and you want to branch out into a different segment of the market and become a speaker, or get more involved in the corporate side or whatever it might be. And as we see these different people come into the market, they want exposure, they want some traction, they want to get some jobs, they want to get out speaking, and we'll often have them come to our booth at one of the conventions or call us, reach out to us somehow, and they'll just say, how do I get started? And we'll just kind of talk to them a little bit about what we know from our experience. And what's been really interesting is we've seen several, and we can't even name all of them really, but there's several that have really kind of stood out to us. One is a gentleman named Orlando Bowen, and you may or may not know him. Let me just share my screen here. This is Orlando right here. And he came, he played in the CFL up in Canada, and was injured and has a really great story. It's really interesting. But he kind of came and says, I know I have a message to share, but I just don't know how to do it. And I remember talking to him about it that day. And he just was on the main stage at the CAPS convention last month, and now has been asked to be on the NSA Influence Convention this next summer. And he's looking to raise his fee. He just put that up to $15,000, and he started working for $500. And so it's been fun to see people like this come in, get some traction, and get going. And he's just a believer. He just has that contagious demeanor and approach. So it's really easy to listen to him. Another guy is Chad Hymas. Chad actually is a paraplegic, like our founder, Art Berg, who Dave talked about. And he knew Art just before Art passed. Art had given him some encouragement and things on how to deal with being a quadriplegic, and he was so impressed by that. He obviously showed up, I think it was in Orlando, at one of the NSA conventions, and just said, I know I should be doing this, and I just don't know how to get started. And I literally remember him sitting there in his wheelchair saying, I don't know what to do, and we just talked about some things, and he had to do all the hard, heavy lifting and the work. But I remember that experience, and now he's, like you can see, his fee's $15,000. He speaks over 100 times a year all around the world, and he's a quadriplegic, and he does it all on his own. And he has nobody that travels with him. And so it's been, those are two examples of that have stood out to me personally, of people that I saw literally start at the brand new. They had nothing, in regard to the speaking industry, and now they're towards the top of their game. So I don't know, Dave, do you have anybody else that you can think of?
No, those are two great examples, but it's if you guys are thinking about getting more into speaking, it's a great industry. We've been around it for a long time, supporting it, and totally encourage you to. And it's not that far from coaching and training either. In my opinion, there's so many parallels that it's not a huge jump for you to move into the speaking world.
And it doesn't have. I've given you two big examples of people that started basically at zero and are at $15,000 fee right now. It doesn't even have to be that. I mean, literally, I could just, if I had to look through our directory or had time to write them all down, people that just came from another industry or brand new and just have done a really good job of it. It's a big industry. There's lots of people. There's over 1,000 events held every single day in the United States, and
events where they hire speakers.
Yeah, where they hire speakers, and so there's a lot of opportunity out there, and so many people have a different perspective and voices, and they need to share it, and so there's a lot of room for growth. So we encourage you to get involved.
Yeah. All right, well, we've only got about 10 minutes left. We want to show you a little bit. We want to demonstrate here. Joe, is it going to let me take over the screen share here?
I'll just give it back to you.
All right.
And guys, while you're keying that up, any other trends that you're seeing in the speaking industry? There's 11,000 meetings per day in the U.S. Any other trends or key things to hear about?
Yeah, that's 1,000 events a day, not 11,000.
Sorry, I don't know.
1,000
events. 1,000 events a day.
1,000 events where they hire speakers per day in the United States. That was at a recent MPI meeting. We gathered that information from them. So
yeah.
And Sarah, I'll mention another trend that I'm hearing pretty consistently these days, and that is that it used to be that event organizers were leaning heavily toward sort of the entertainment value of things, and they were hiring speakers who were, maybe part comedian. They were hiring speakers who were just motivational, rah-rah people to pump the crowd up. And there's a trend away from that now. There's a trend away from just pure entertainment or mostly entertainment toward heavy on the content side. These folks who are writing big checks, they want to make sure that their people aren't just entertained, that they are better after hearing the presentation, that their organization runs better, that you're solving problems for their audience and for their individuals. And so I identify that as a trend that's been happening over the last couple of years and is picking up.
Another one that has been interesting that's still solid, it kind of changed in about 2008 or 9 when a speaker would just they were a keynoter, and they would just go in to say, pay me a certain amount. I walk in, I do my keynote, I walk out, and I'm done. And when the downturn of the economy happened, meeting planners were having to do more with the dollars they were spending. So what happened is they said, well, that's fine, come in and keynote, but I also want you to do this session and this session and consult with my executive board and do a pre-webinar and some different things like that. And so what's happened over those years, those last 10 years, is the meeting planners are now used to that trend and that hiring. I was talking to Tim Gard, who was emceeing for the CAPS convention last month, and Tim is a comedian, and he kind of just gets in and does his thing. And he said, in order for me to, he's just doing this now. He said, I have this mastermind group and we all talk. And he said, every one of us have the same issue, is that we're having to add more to the pot on our side. We're having to consult with them more, add some content, offer some type of handout or whatever for those same dollars, because, that's just the industry. It's the way it is now. So that's another.
Yeah.
Really helpful, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me show you just a couple of things. As you move into the speaking world, one of the things you're going to need to do is get exposure. You need people to be able to understand who you are, what you speak about, and why they should hire you. And one of the ways that you can do that is with a a website. And one of the ways that eSpeakers supports our speakers is we provide sort of a templated web page for people, and it looks like this. This is a fake speaker. His name's Zeke Ridges. We use him as a demo guy, and this is what we call your simple site page. So without any coding, you're filling in questions on the back end. In fact, I'll show this to you here.
Beautiful.
You're just filling in questions on the back end, and it is creating out of these questions that you answer, it's creating this templated website. And a lot of speakers use this until, it's great. You should have a $10,000 website, at some point in time. But up until then, this makes a great website, and you can have it up in, an hour. And if you want it to be your website, you can do a thing called domain forwarding, which is a nerdy term, but it's easy to do if you have your domain registered at GoDaddy or any of the other big registrars. There's a little area where you can say, forward my domain name, like marniespeaks.com. I want you to forward it to this simple site web page. And then when people go to marniespeaks.com, your simple site page comes up. And so in about an hour, you've got a nice looking professional website up, which is a great way to get started. Again, eventually you're going to want that $10,000 nice website, but this is a great way to go before then. The other thing that's nice about this profile is that we're able to publish it in a few places to get you some exposure as well. So we have a directory called Marketplace, the eSpeakers Marketplace. Event organizers, we market this to event organizers. They come here to research speakers, and it's a great way for them to find out who's available to speak on different topics. They can search by topic and fee range and look at speaker profiles. And so your eSpeakers profile is good at getting you exposure that way as well. One of the other things that you'll want to do as far as exposure goes is you're going to want to work your own client list. And this is really valuable. Let me get into a different part of our platform here called the email marketing area. I'm going to talk about a little tool that we have called Speaker Track. So as you grow your speaking business, you're going to want to do this forever. You know that your own customers are a gold mine for repeat business, for new business. It's much easier to get more money out of the same folks than it is to find new money. And so continually mining your old client list is a great way to have a growing business. So one of the ways you can do that is with our Speaker Track tool. And this came about because, again, our founder, Art Berg, whenever he'd go speak in Saskatoon, and, he'd have 20 people come up afterwards and say, hey, that was a great presentation. We loved it. I work for this company, and if you're ever in Saskatoon again, let me know. So maybe we'll have you speak for us as well. And you gather, 20, 30, 50 of these cards after a presentation. There's no way you can actually contact all those people next time you're back in the Saskatoon area, unless you use a tool like Speaker Track. And Speaker Track, you would take those business cards. You can also collect this right off your website. And then this geotags your client list. You can do a one-time upload of your client list. It geotags them all. And then every time you speak, it watches your speaking calendar. And every time you go do an engagement, it will find all of your contacts within an hour drive of that. And it will let them know, hey, Andrea's coming to town. She's going to be here on, February 12th. If you would like to sit in the back of the room and see what she does, find out if it's right for you. If you want to take her to lunch, if you want to have her do some coaching for you while she's already in town and you don't have to pay travel, and the reply address comes back to you and it's all your contact information. So mining your own contact list using Speaker Track or other tools, there are CRMs that can do other nice things with your contact list. Great way to build a speaking business. Joe, we looked at this profile a second ago that was over. Let me pull up. You mentioned Orlando earlier. Let's see if we can find Orlando. You mentioned the speaking profile up here. This is one of the major ways that people will find you on the web is on different speaker directories. Why don't you talk, Joe, a little bit about these directories and some of the do's and don'ts for those?
Well, the biggest thing that we're still finding, it's been a trend for several years now, is messaging. Like, it's not the nuts and bolts of the technology or how to publish you. Like the directory works, and you have an individual profile, and we can publish that profile out to many directories, our directory, MPI, the CAPS directory, a speakers bureau. That's the beauty of our technology, but it's really not the technology so much, it's where they're making, or they're kind of falling short. It's in their messaging, and buyers keep telling us this, particularly in the one-line bio and in the bio, is that speakers are not leading with the benefits. So the benefits of hiring them, right? And so if you go back to, well, I guess we can look at Sarah's here, helping leaders recognize and engage top talent for positive bottom line results. So she identifies exactly what she does, right? And then that should transition into the first line of the bio. Says you will rediscover your own greatness and blah, blah, blah. So that right there is kind of an extension of that one-line bio in the messaging. So Dave, go back up and just hit the search button there for me. Okay. And look, we can look at a couple others. If you bring this up, if you scroll down, and I would this is a really good practice for you guys. Go to eSpeakers.com/marketplace and do a search on some of the topics that you are interested in. And I was going to bring this up earlier, but right now kind of the trending topics are leadership, mental health, project management, alcohol and drug abuse, and communication are kind of the top topics right now that people are searching for. And so if you do a search in the directory, you can come up with the results, and hit back to search there. The reason that one-line bio is important is this particular search. You'll notice that photo comes up and the name and your fee and the videos and all that, but the thing that they're going to find out more about you is that one-line bio right there that Dave's highlighting. And so as you read those, you'll see some where they say, I'm a best-selling author, I'm a speaker, I'm an entertainer, I'm whatever, and that's what everybody in this directory is. You're not clearly identifying what you offer the audience and how it differentiates you from all of the 13,000 speakers. So really, it's the very first thing as we do one-on-ones with speakers, it's usually the messaging that stands out, that you need to really jump in and make sure that you have a benefit-driven statement there saying, when I come speak to your group, I do this, this, and this, and they'll walk away knowing how to do this, this, and this. And so that benefit statement is in your one-line bio, in your first paragraph of your bio, and then the other place it is, Dave, just click into any one of those, is in your programs. So on your programs, it's really important to identify like what the benefit is and what the audience will walk away with. And we have a really nice template maker. It's a little wizard that will walk you through that. And anyway, so those are kind of three things that they'll fall on first in regard to the profile. The other thing that is a common mistake is they don't use the calendar, because anytime you search in the database, you can search by a date. So if I had an event in Houston, Texas on February 9th and I had somebody back out really quick, I may look in the directory and be able to find somebody that is traveling through Houston, like Dave talked about that speaker track, letting the clients know where you're going to be. This works the same way. So you could be traveling through Dallas or Houston, and they could piggyback on your event and hire you while you're there. Or if you lived local, they would see that you lived local. You could be there, and they could hire you up. So those are kind of the two things that I see. Dave, do you see any other?
No, and it was a great overview. Okay. Great overview. I'll mention just one more thing before we sign off, unless there are questions. But one of the things that the National Speakers Association in the U.S. identified a few years ago, and this kind of surprised me, but they found out that of the speakers who fail out of the business early, they get into it for a year or two or even 5, They intend to make it a long-term career, but it doesn't work out for them. And they looked into why this happens. And I kind of figured it would be because they weren't that good on stage, or because their topic wasn't that interesting. But what the NSA found out is that speakers who have great stage presence and who have great content were failing out of the business because they didn't run the business side of it that well. They were good on stage and they had good content, but they weren't running the business in a way that was sustainable. And one of the things that we teach our speakers is that you can see this picture of the iceberg. When you're on stage, that's the tip of the iceberg. You're on stage for 45 minutes, but you've been working with that event organizer for weeks and days and months prior to that engagement. There's a whole world of experience that event organizer, your customer, is having with you that doesn't happen on stage. I mean, most of it doesn't happen on stage. And you got to get all this stuff under the water. You got to get it right, or you don't retain customers. You don't get the sort of recommendations that turn into new customers. And so, speakers who only get the tip of the iceberg on stage right don't wind up being sustainable speakers. You got to get the whole thing. As you start running your business, we tell speakers that by the time you have about 25 engagements a year, by the time you're doing about 2 engagements a month, you need to have a professional level tool to manage that and keep it going. Obviously, we have a favorite, but whatever you use, have a tool that can recognize the difference between held events, leads, confirms, that can track all of the details. You can't do this in Google Calendar anymore. You can't do this in Mac Calendar anymore. You need something that can keep track of your travel. Now I signed into a demo account where some of these features aren't unlocked, but you want to have an action list that can make sure that every little T is crossed and I dotted for every event. I'll tell you what, it does not take many mistakes in this business to put you out of it. The word travels fast when you drop important balls. So the message, I guess, is just by the time your business starts to pick up, make sure that you've got a professional system, a professional tool in place for running the business for best practices, or it's tough to be sustainable with that. With the right tool and great content on platform, sky's the limit. So I think that covered our to-do list. Joe, anything that we missed out on? We came in almost on time. I think we're a couple minutes over. Sorry about that.
We literally could talk to you guys for another hour about all the little things and our technology and how to best utilize it and what to do. But thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was great.
Any questions?
Yeah, guys, what questions do you have for Dave and Joe? If you just feel free to unmute yourself if you have one, or speak loudly so they can hear you through Angie's computer.
Okay, so what's the next steps for us to join this?
I'll send you a link because everyone in this room, Joe and Dave, very generously given everyone a basic membership for 1 year on them, because I'd love for you to experience it. And again, I love working with other entrepreneurs who want people to be successful right out of the gate. And so this is a way for you to start getting your feet wet in the speaking realm, whether it is the keynote in front of 1,000 people is your goal, or you want to get in rooms of 20 and do those breakout sessions that are at every conference, and that's organizations are creating, those opportunities for people to learn within their in-shop and so forth. So, but people can find you there. And to your point earlier around this, what I'm looking for, this is part of why I asked Dave and Joe if they would be willing to let you experience this, because sometimes people spend a lot of time and money on a website and it's not this niche area of expertise. And you can see how easy it is to rejig your value proposition that you put as your promise statement at the top of that. I've got to update mine because mine's a snore and I just haven't updated on eSpeakers, but I can go in and do that super, super quickly. Anyway, so that's the very next step, is we'll send you that link and you can go into eSpeakers and see there's 2 other plans if you want to have one of those higher plans, you could use the amount for that basic plan towards a higher plan. They're willing to let you use that as credit, so to speak, to have one of the higher plans. Anything else, Dave and Joe, you'd suggest for people getting started for the first time with eSpeakers?
You know, if you decide that you want to take advantage of these tools, Joe and I will definitely give you some hand holding, or our staff will give you some hand holding and get you going in the system. We'll make it easy for you.
Yeah. And I guess probably the biggest thing is don't be scared or nervous or have anxiety over it, because it's not, it's doable. You gotta, I think where I've seen people fail in regards to transition over to this industry is just consistency. They're just not, like, every day you have to do something. And so, there are ways to do that through email marketing and outbound reach to people, potential clients or past clients, or work on your craft, or, stage presence and all the stuff that Sarah, I'm sure, has gone over with you guys and everything. But that's the people that I've seen have success, is they're just every day they're doing something.
Yeah.
As you see down in the profile, Kit's profile, the reviews right there, you could send requests out to people to say, would you do a review for me? I mean, that could be how you could start today. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you've got 20 verified reviews. That's amazing. And you could have had your profile up there for a day. So it truly is, within 2 hours, my profile was up. And then you can tweak and change the wording anytime you want. Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting, what we were talking about yesterday around having your core area of expertise. This gentleman here, no disrespect to him, notice his fee when he has 3 very different topics that he covers. Now, granted, he's 28 years in the business. He's a very busy calendar, all that. However, other profiles that we looked at, real profiles, not the dummy profiles, so to speak, or the teaching profile, there was a higher fee because they're very specialized. So just, again, reinforcing what we talked about yesterday, how this tool also helps you reinforce that you have expertise and your value, because you're now being compared to other experts, and just to stand tall in that. Any other questions for Dave or Joe?
No, I just want to say hi and thank you, because I get your emails. I jumped in a transitional moment in my life, and I just basically put in there whatever words came out. Mm-hmm. So my goal this year is, especially in January, to go back and use what you share with us today to rebuild it, and make it
nice.
Work
Great.
In a business way and in a fashionable way to build.
Good stuff. Well, good luck. Let us know if we can help you.
Yep. Looks like part of the video is frozen a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you and I aren't.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Sarah's over there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we go.
Yeah, we got Sarah on the other monitor now.
Can you see me?
Yep. We got you.
Yeah. Can you see me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah, you can?
Yes,
all right. Thank you so much, guys. It was an awesome opportunity to learn from you today, and really always value my time with you. You guys are rock stars.
Yeah,
thanks,
Sarah.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys
Have
later.
Fun.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you.
Bye.